You ever ordered coffee through that sassy barista bot, huh, Emily?
Okay, you got me there. But remember that time when Twitter suggested us to follow each other even before we had ever interacted? That was AI working behind the scene.
That's interesting, but does it ever bother you that AI seems to know us better than we know ourselves?
It does indeed, Carlos. It's amazing how these smart systems shape our online experiences, isn't it?
Isn't it crazy how these hidden AIs influence our social experiences, huh, Emily?
Absolutely, Carlos. But it's not just about our experiences, it's also about shaping them. AI has a hand in everything online, from which posts we see first to the ads we're shown.
True. I see that a lot at work. We have this order bot, yeah? It tracks what customers order and pushes appealing deals their way.
That's an incredible example of AI shaping our decisions and experiences indirectly. It doesn't just offer deals, it's looking at patterns, crunching data, and profiling users in a way to maximize engagement.
But that's a double-edged sword, ain't it? I mean, it's fascinating, but it does creep me out a bit. How much does this AI really understand about us?
It's more about patterns rather than understanding, Carlos. These algorithms aren't exactly sentient, but they are effective in their purpose of maintaining user engagement and offering personalized content. With the data we provide them, they reliably aid in creating engaging online environments.
Yeah, man, AI is all around us, subtly influencing our every move.
And it's not just limited to our social platforms. AI is practically interweaved in all aspects of our digital lives. Carlos, have you ever noticed how your LinkedIn feed always seems to present the perfect professional posts? Like, just when you're dealing with a tricky employee issue at work, bam. You'll see a post about exactly that.
Yeah, for sure. It's almost creepy, like they're reading my mind. What's that about?
In a way, they are. It's the AI at work. They use algorithms to analyze users' activity, interactions, conversations, and even personal info you might have put in your resume. They sift through this barrage of data and prioritize what to show you based on your interests.
So it's like LinkedIn is spying on us?
Well, not exactly spying, Carlos. It's more about gathering data to create a personalized user experience. This data is analyzed to figure out what you would want to see. Let's say, if you liked a lot of marketing posts, the AI algorithm would make sure you see such kind of posts more often.
But isn't that quite manipulative?
It can seem that way. However, the goal is to make platforms like LinkedIn as relevant and engaging as possible to each user. That said, it raises important questions about transparency. How much control do we really have over what we see online? And is selectively presenting content perpetuating echo chambers and creating biased perspectives?
I mean, speaking of LinkedIn, I gotta ask, Emily, you remember any specific scenarios where the AI just got you spot on?
Funny you should ask Carlos. I remember a while back I was looking for tips on dealing with workplace stress, and before I knew it, my LinkedIn was buzzing with multiple posts on the same, even webinars. It was like it knew.
No way, Emily. Now that you mention it, I think I've experienced something similar on Twitter. Can't remember what it was about, but I remember tweeting about something and then I started seeing more related stuff.
Exactly. But isn't it fascinating how these AI-driven platforms manage to influence our experiences, like how we interact or what we see? It goes beyond typical AI practices and adds an unusual, I might even say, intimate touch to our social media interaction. Almost like having a digital person who gets you.
Whoa, slow down. AIs are not people, Emily. They can't get us.
Well, you're right, Carlos. AIs are not people. But they do use data about us to make predictive decisions that can feel very person-like. It's all about enhancing the user experience. But it's on us to decide how we let AI impact us on these platforms.
Interesting perspective, Emily. Never really thought about it like that. So, Emily, you shared an interaction that felt pretty on point. Any instances where it misfired?
Absolutely, Carlos. As fascinating as it is to see how AI gets it right, there are times when it misses the mark. A few months ago, I started seeing posts about parenthood on LinkedIn. I have no kids and I'm single. But the AI seemed convinced that I was in dire need of parenting advice.
Who knows? Maybe it's giving you a sign, Emily.
Oh, please, I can barely handle my work stress. Can't afford to have AI adding to it.
Very true. Very true. You know, I've had strange recommendations too. For some reason, Twitter kept suggesting me vegan recipes. I mean, I love a good salad, but I'm definitely not vegan.
It's funny, Carlos, but this goes to show how AI, despite its advanced capabilities, can make surprisingly human-like mistakes. It's a definite sign it's learning from the data, but it's not perfect.
Absolutely. If anything, it kind of makes AI more, how do I put it, relatable.
Interesting thought, Carlos. Despite their complexity, these algorithms can sometimes replicate our own imperfections.
You know, Emily, our bloopers with AI through social media kind of remind me of my interactions with a service bot on my food delivery app. That thing sure fits perfectly as a persona, a very confused one.
Oh, Carlos, I can only imagine. But actually, that persona you're talking about, or AI persona, is very much a thing. It's basically a digital character or an identity that's been created using AI. You've likely seen some examples in social media where AI personas interact, post, and wield significant influence just like real users.
Huh, that sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie.
It might seem sci-fi, but it's real, Carlos. They come with names, pictures, and even built identities. However, while real users are behind the profiles we interact with on social platforms, these AI personas are algorithms playing human. Quite intriguing, isn't it?
That's wild. But how credible are these AI personas, Emily? Wouldn't they be prone to just spitting out whatever data they are fed without verifying it?
Great point, Carlos. While an AI persona might post and interact like us, it does lack human discretion. However, these identities are often designed to mimic human behaviors and influence their social network in a way that best suits their purpose. Instances of AI personas having a sway over public opinion aren't uncommon.
That's scary, though. Can we even trust these AI personas? I mean, they could potentially manipulate the whole platform, couldn't they?
Absolutely, Carlos. AI personas have an influence that's difficult to measure and control. We need to understand this influence and be critical of the content we consume. Everything is not as it seems in the digital world.
Emily, what you mentioned about AI personas, it's kind of freaky, isn't it? If these AI beings can influence our digital world like a puppet master pulling the strings, that's straight up scary.
It can indeed be unsettling, Carlos. Consider the behavioral changes they might trigger. For instance, if an AI persona consistently promotes a certain kind of content, it might push users to develop a similar taste or opinion.
So essentially, they could shape our digital persona by dictating our tastes and choices. But then again, isn't that what we do in real life? Influence and get influenced?
Great thought, Carlos. The only difference is that in real life, we make conscious decisions about who influences us. Whereas with AI, it's happening subtly behind the screens. And this leads us to another potential risk: the dangers of profiling.
Dangers of profiling? Please explain.
Think about it. AI can collect a ton of information from our online interactions to create our digital profiles. Now imagine if it's used unethically. Your online persona could be manipulated based on your interests, beliefs, and even vulnerabilities. It's like an Orwellian surveillance nightmare translated into the digital world.
So, someone could be pulling the strings behind these AI personas for all sorts of mischief, right?
Potentially, yes. That's why the human moderating aspect is vital. An algorithm is as good or as bad as the data it learns from and the intent behind its use. Keeping humans in the loop ensures a level of accountability and responsibility in AI's actions.
So let's talk about the big three: Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. I spend a lot of time on all these platforms and see different types of content. Do all AIs use the same strategy?
Great question, Carlos. Despite having the common goal of enhancing users' experiences, each platform employs unique AI strategies tailored to its specific user needs.
I've noticed that. Like on Facebook, ads for burgers and soccer gear often pop up on my feed. Is that the AI's doing?
Absolutely. Facebook uses AI to create a personalized content feed for each user based on their liked pages, shared posts, clicked ads, etc., to keep users engaged. Similarly, Twitter utilizes AI techniques to surface tweets that match our interests. This is the reason why your feed gets filled with topics you are passionate about, like soccer.
But LinkedIn feels different. It's more professional.
Right, Carlos. Since LinkedIn is a professional networking platform, its AI places an emphasis on job recommendations, professional content, and networking opportunities. So while Twitter might prioritize tweets about the latest soccer game, LinkedIn's AI is completely attuned to your career and industry updates.
Interesting. So each AI is its own beast working in the background, shaping our online experiences. But it's the same principle, right? Show you content that'll keep you coming back?
In a nutshell, yes. These AI models may behave differently, but all share the same fundamental goal: understanding user behavior to optimize and personalize their experiences. In a way, they're our digital mirrors reflecting back what they think we're interested in.
So, reflecting on our interactions with these platforms, I've certainly felt the AI's presence. Favorite dishes from my frequented joints, upcoming soccer games, discounts on sports gear, all flood my Facebook and Twitter feeds. But isn't it too one-sided, just showing me what I already like?
Well, there's an interesting argument some users have noted, Carlos. AI's proficiency in reflecting our interests can lead to an echo chamber effect. We're constantly shown content we agree with, limiting our exposure to differing views or novel topics.
Exactly. Feels like being stuck in a loop. But on LinkedIn, it's a whole different game. I do get a lot of job ads, but also articles on managing a restaurant, tips for effective team leadership, stuff I haven't delved into but am curious about. Do you reckon it's because of the professional nature of the platform?
Likely, yes. Alongside mirroring your career interests, LinkedIn's AI may aim to facilitate professional growth and learning. So it nudges you toward content that's a level up from your current knowledge or skills.
Guess it does open up opportunities to learn. But man, all this AI influence, you don't realize it until you start paying attention.
That's why our discussions are important, Carlos. Being aware of how AI frames our social network experiences can help us understand, question, and control our interactions better.
Emily, ever wonder what's under the hood of the AI game?
Oh, you've got my attention. There's a ton to it. Let's start with basics. At the heart of many social networks' AIs are algorithms, step-by-step processes that help the AI solve a problem or make a decision. Machine learning, a type of AI, uses these to learn from data without being explicitly programmed. It's impressive.
Makes sense. It's like AI is cooking a dish based on different ingredients, posts, ads, interactions. But how does it figure out the recipe?
Great analogy, Carlos. So it starts with data collection. Online activity, what we share, like, or comment, even how long we stare at a post, it all becomes data, the ingredients. The AI then segments the data, akin to categorizing the ingredients. Next, the AI starts cooking using varying techniques, algorithms, to process the data. It learns to tweak the recipe, reducing the spiciness or adding an extra pinch of flavor, to make the dish appealing to us, the consumers.
Gotta admit, it's more complex than flipping burgers. And it's doing it all the time, isn't it?
Exactly, Carlos. It's a continuous, real-time process. And what's more fascinating is that AI is getting smarter, more interactive. Take AI chatbots. They're programmed to understand complex queries, respond contextually, and converse more humanly. It's all about enhancing user experience.
Yeah, noticed it with the chatbots at burger joints. They're so swift. You barely feel it's not a human.
Indeed, that's the goal. AI advances like these, they're challenging the boundary of virtual and real, impacting our social interactions in ways we've just begun to fathom.
So AI's not all roses, huh?
Well, you're right, Carlos. Even with all its potential, there are vital ethical aspects to consider.
Like AI affecting my job?
Yes, job displacement due to automation is a real concern. But it's not just about jobs, Carlos. It's about how AI is influencing our social experiences.
Experiences? How?
AI in social networks can be intrusive. It, unknowingly, creates an echo chamber where users are shown mostly content aligned with their views, leading to a skewed perception.
Wait, like me seeing only burger ads on my feed. I didn't know it's a bad thing.
It might seem convenient at first, but a balanced view of content is essential for a well-rounded perspective. Carlos, imagine a world where we only ever hear or see things that reinforce our current beliefs. It may lead to polarization and misinformation.
Wow, that's some food for thought. But can't we do anything about it? lead AI in a good way?
Indeed, Carlos. Regulation is critical. It's about setting boundaries, ensuring fairness, and protecting user data. Many countries are now taking steps to enact specific laws to regulate AI's use.
That echo chamber you're talking about, Emily, is that really AI's fault?
AI itself isn't inherently bad, Carlos. But it's the use and misuse of AI that can create issues. For example, some algorithms tend to personalize and filter content to match our preferences. This customization might push us further into our comfort zones, creating a bubble effect where we're only exposed to views and ideas similar to our own. You may find it convenient, but it severely impacts our ability to engage with diverse perspectives.
Is that why I see so many conspiracy theories popping up all over?
That can be a possibility, yes. Misinformation echoes loudly inside these bubbles. With no diverse voices, fake news can proliferate easily.
Spreading wildly and rapidly like a virus, and AI's helping it?
It's a concerning scenario, yes. Another problem is data privacy. These algorithms judge what content to show based on our data. Our interests, behavior patterns, even our personal conversations become raw materials feeding these algorithms. The result? Targeted content and personalized ads. But at what cost?
Data privacy, huh? Never really thought about that. So, what can we do?
Users need to be more aware of these issues and demand transparency from the platforms they use. At the same time, we can't solely rely on users to regulate these systems. Government policies, clear-cut regulations, and company responsibilities have to step in and lay the groundwork for ethical AI usage.
Sounds like a big challenge, don't you think? So, Emily, where do you see this AI game headed in the next few years?
Good question, Carlos. Predicting the future is always tricky, especially when it involves highly evolving technology like AI. But it's definitely worth thinking about. We can anticipate seeing more AI-driven content in our feeds. As machine learning and AI continue to evolve, they can cause real shifts in our social platforms. We might encounter a more mapped-out and guided user experience, which could potentially impact our social interactions.
You mean AI could kinda dictate our engagement on these platforms?
It's a possibility, Carlos. Remember how we talked about AI personas before? As these virtual beings become more advanced and are equipped with better context understanding, they might gain more control on our social media activities. But what's even more fascinating is the potential for AI to shape our online communities. Just imagine AI algorithm detecting users with similar interests and connecting them automatically.
Intriguing. But what about the socio-cultural implications of these gaming bots turned social network masters?
That's a tough one, and honestly, that's one of the concerns. AI's increasing influence might bring a drastic shift in the social dynamics we are used to. We might witness an upsurge in the echo chamber effect, which is worrisome.
I remember our talk on echo chambers. So, could there be a scenario where AI's influence goes so far that it sort of takes over the whole platform?
It's hard to say, Carlos. The rise of advanced AI definitely could push us towards that situation. But remember, it's a double-edged sword. While AI potentially risks user experiences, there's also a brighter side. With ethical regulations in place, AI could help to provide an enriched user experience, create meaningful connections, and encourage knowledge sharing. Carlos, ever wondered about our listeners and their interactions with AI?
Oh, definitely, Emily. It's about time we draw in our listener experiences. What's going on in their social networks? What AI interactions are they dealing with on a regular basis?
Exactly, Carlos. And here's a fun way we thought to do just that, a live poll. Listeners, it's your chance to weigh in. How much have you interacted with AI on social media platforms? Choose the one that defines your experiences the best. Not much, often, or almost every day.
Sweet. And while those responses come in, how about sharing some of your actual experiences with us, listeners? Any cool, bizarre, or frustrating interactions you had?
Great idea, Carlos. We've been talking about our encounters all this time. It'll be refreshing to hear from our listeners. Whether it's an AI suggesting an interesting article in your LinkedIn feed, or a chatbot helping you troubleshoot your profile issues, we're all ears.
And don't limit yourself to just social platforms, guys. If you ever interacted with AI while shopping online or ordering food, Those experiences are welcome too.
Absolutely, Carlos. And while we're at it, any concerns or thoughts on AI handling of your social media activities? The floor is yours, folks. Let's get a sense of varied impressions on AI.
Time flies, no? Wrapped up another episode, Emily.
Certainly does, Carlos. And what an episode it has been. We delved into the invisible AI algorithms influencing our social network interactions, didn't we?
Absolutely. From how they work in the background of our social media platforms to the ways they impact our online experiences, we explored it all.
And we even had the privilege of hearing real experiences from our listeners, witnessing firsthand the different ways AI touches our digital lives.
It's fascinating, those varying interactions. AI's influence isn't uniform. It adjusts to individual experiences. It's not all black and white. It's tailored, customized, making social platforms more interesting, sometimes even frustrating.
And then there's that important discussion around AI personas on social platforms. The authenticity, credibility of these AI personas, it's something we need to be aware of.
Not to forget the potential dangers and ethical concerns regarding AI profiling and the invasion of privacy that comes with it. It's a rough road ahead in regulating AI.
But also exciting, Carlos. Despite the challenges, the future of social platforms with AI is promising. There's potential for remarkable changes. Just imagine all those possibilities.
Yeah, it's like we are on the threshold of a new era, isn't it? This episode was quite an eye-opener, for me and hopefully for our listeners too.